Okay, it's 6 o'clock. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Pursuant to MGL 7C30A, section 20F, after notifying the chair of the public body, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of a public body or may transmit the meeting to any medium. Beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any such recordings. This meeting is being recorded by the town of Great Barrington, CTSB, the Berkshire Edge, and Berkshire Eagle. Any member of the public wishing to speak at the meeting must receive permission of the chair. The listing of agenda items are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. Select board's announcements, statements. Phil?
Yes, very briefly, many of us are aware of the ICE enforcement actions that have gone on around the country as well as locally. It's not on the agenda for tonight, but just wanted to note that if you were like me and you were trying to figure out what the law actually is on some of these complex and distressing issues, there's two sources of information that are readily available. One is the state attorney general, Andrea Joy Campbell, put out a terrific, it's a long word, put out a very informative 7-page memo outlining relevant law for immigrants, families, and communities. And it's very helpful and very informative. And then there also is the Great Barrington Trust Policy, which is very relevant and very informative, and it was put together back in 2017. It's a very thoughtful piece that addresses some of the local issues. And I believe we'll try to put both of these on our town website, but they're both very much available if you just Google it. That's it. Thank you.
Right, so, Sam?
Yeah, I want to echo what Phil said. I know that there are also a lot of groups putting together trainings right now for people to know exactly what it means to be a bystander and how to do it responsibly and safely. And I encourage everyone to take that training. I will also say it is June, so I would wish a happy Pride Month from the board or from myself at the board. And then this Saturday is Party in the Park in Housatonic, and I hope everyone can come on out and join us. Thanks.
Yes, some of you people probably know, but I'm a two-time cancer survivor, and the Relay for Life is June 28th up at the high school. I would really love to see Great Barrington show up and show out. It's right up the hill. It is not a race. It's a fun time. It's not just a sad occasion. There's raffles, there's crafts, there's food, there's dancing, there's music. If you invest $5, we have a golf ball drop, and it's $5,000. Half of it belongs to you if your number comes up. So it's very important to me. It means a lot to me. I walked that Survivor a lot, now this will be my 23rd year, and it always feels great. So I would love to encourage our town to get up and show that we do support cancer. And I love it because everyone there was on the same page. They're all working for one thing, that's to eradicate cancer. So I'd really love it if you folks could show up at all of Great Barrington and let us know how you feel about cancer. Thank you.
Yes, so just guess I'm echoing Ben a little bit here as far as Party in the Park, 12 to 4, this very sunny Saturday that's coming up. It's gonna be a lot of good times. We have new food vendors and a lot of live music, a lot of good times for the whole family. And then just a note, in case we get lost in the meeting, that I will be recusing myself for 5B due to owning the property that's up for discussion.
Right.
Thank you.
I just have one thing. We have tentatively scheduled interviews for the town manager for Monday, June 30th.
All right.
Time to be determined. So more of that will come out as soon as we make sure everyone can make it who needs to. The select board has confirmed they can be there. So Monday, June 30th at the town hall. Town manager report?
Just briefly tonight, thanks everybody for coming, and with regards to the Housatonic Waterworks, so you'll note tonight's agenda also includes executive sessions as we have been doing for several months now, the select board meets in executive session to discuss the possible purchase of the company and negotiations. Tonight, the board is meeting jointly with the Board of Health to talk about mutual issues. Just to make everybody aware that we continue to discuss and work on the problem. We're sorry we can't discuss it publicly, but it is a complicated issue. And there was litigation involved, so it can be discussed in public. I think that's it for now.
Thanks, Chris. We have minutes of May 14th and May 19th of 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next, we have the public hearing continued from April 14th, 2025 meeting. Application for special permits from MGMT2 LLC, 235 East Street, Pittsfield, Mass. In relation to a proposed 20-unit residential mixed-use project at 546 Main Street, Barrington. The application seeks mixed-use development and water quality protection overlay district special permits in accordance with sections 8.2, 9.2, and 10.4 of the Great Barrington zoning bylaw. There are revised plans and architectural drawings that were submitted on May 30th, 2025. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I confused myself.
Yep, absolutely.
Second.
Thank you. It's a roll call vote. Bill?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And I. Can I have an explanation of the project? Thank you, Ken.
Sure. Kate McCormick, Merton, Marcus. I'm here on behalf of Zia, manager of AM Management 2 LLC. And I'm also here tonight with Jim Scalise from SK Design and Robert Harrison from Bradley Architects. It's good to be here tonight. It seems like it's been a long time coming. So to recap the project, we started with the Design Advisory Committee in October. My client listened to the Design Advisory Committee and submitted a project incorporating their comments to the planning board. We were in front of the planning board in February 27th. And we had a very productive meeting. They gave some very beneficial comments. They also sent to the planning board to the select board an agreement that they supported the special permit for the water quality protection overlay district. Then we came here. We were here very early in March because of Mr. Reed's recusal and the vacancy on the board. We were postponed for 3 months until Phil joined the board. So welcome, Phil. Happy to have you here. But my client decided to take these 3 months and really listen and incorporate all of the comments that the planning board made. Hired Robert Harrison, a local architect, to really give this project a local flair, and really spent the time to make it the best version of the project possible and to incorporate all the comments that the planning board gave. So this is a mixed use project, 21 apartments, 1 office space. It's in the mixed use transitional zone. The square footage is 7,800 square feet. The project is going to be back in front of the planning board on Thursday night for site plan review. And we're here tonight for the water quality protection overlay zone 2 special permit in accordance with section 9.2.12. I'm gonna turn it over shortly to Jim Scalise to walk you through the projects, the changes, and the special permit application. He'll go through all the specifics of the water quality district. But before I do, I just wanted to clarify. I sent a letter to the board dated March 6th. That was right before the time we were scheduled. But that was a legal opinion to clarify that no waiver was required. So the original application quite some time ago included a request for a waiver. And the request for the waiver was a percentage of commercial versus residential space. But that was done kind of in error, and the application is only seeking to be a special permit for the water quality water quality protection overlay. The letter that we sent clarified that it's not needed because the mixed use development is a by right use. References in mixed use developments 8.4 states that in an MDX only the design requirements in 9.1 are required. The requirement to have a residential versus non-residential component is in 8.4.2, and that does not apply in an MXD zone. So we're not asking for any waivers. The only thing we're here tonight in front of you is for the water quality special permit.
Okay, let me just, Chris, do you want to comment on that? Probably as good a time as any.
Sure, Chris Rimble, Assistant Town Manager, Planning Director. I did read the applicant's letter, the March 6th letter about the mixed use request. So the applicant did seek a special permit request to waive what in some mixed use areas requires a certain amount of street level floor space to be non-residential space, i.e. commercial space. But very specifically, the that section, which is 8.4 of the zoning code, does not apply to this zoning district, which is the MXD district. So while the applicant noted that they were requesting that waiver, they in fact, as the attorney noted, they do not require it. Mixed use per the zoning bylaw, section 9.11 is allowed by right in the MXD zone. And the requirements of section 8.4 apply only in certain specific other zones, but not in this zone. This zone is not listed. So it is true, the only special permit required is the water quality special.
So I told the planning board chair that we would not be voting tonight because it was, they are going to do a site plan review on Thursday. If we're only doing the water quality overlay district, I will, we can make that decision as a board as we move along.
So I guess before I turn it over to Jim to walk you through, I just wanted to kind of generally overview the project. He's gonna go through the specifics, but I know you guys need to make findings, so I wanted to call out some findings to support a special permit. This project, time to time, we hear that this community wants a project like this. It's a project for market rate housing. It's long-term rentals. There's no plan to sell this as a condo, no ability for short-term or vacation rentals. And the thought is that it's going to be more stock for employee housing. It's walking distance to town, shopping and recreational areas, and it's on a vacant site. So, you know, it's consistent with the neighborhood. The neighborhood, which is Main Street at the corner of Mahawi Street, is a mix of single family, multifamily and commercial uses. So it works very, very well with that. It'll put the vacant tax lot back on the tax roll. And all of these items are identified as things that the master plan is aiming to do with new development projects. And Jim's gonna talk about the water quality protection. He's also gonna tell you guys a little bit about this project compared to the project that was already approved for this site. So this board's, or at least a variation of this board, I know Mr. Ornstein is new to the board, but has heard different projects for this lot. And another project was approved. This one has much less of an impact and we feel is a much better project. And so Jim will kind of highlight some of those areas as we go through. After Jim's presentation, I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have. Thank you.
Is it okay if I sit at the table?
Yeah, of course.
Does he need the microphone? I said.
I'll should pick them up there.
I should pick them up, yeah.
Just get the technology set and everyone can see it. If you make me the panels, Chris, I can
All right.
share and then.
See Jim.
Yeah.
And because I'm old school, I printed you out a hard copy just in case.
Great.
Then
Thank
can
you.
make notes or. I sometimes cheat and look ahead.
Thank you.
Welcome. I have a few extra copies if anyone wants them.
Did you want one, Chris?
Oh, no, but I did. Just set the balance invitation.
Oh,
The balance invitation box.
Oh, that's what this is. See.
Should be.
That's what I'm doing. Um. Well, good evening. For your record, my name is Jim Felice. I'm a civil engineer with SK Design Group. I'm here tonight for the project at 546 Mahaley Street. Yeah, good, you got it, looking at the screen. Okay, so what we have is a proposed mixed-use building. This particular slide also shows our updated architecture. So as Kate laid out to you, we spent some time with the design advisory committee. We also went to the planning board. At each step along the way, we received comments. I will tell you that the bulk of the comments received were all related to architecture and the aesthetic of the project. So we made an attempt between the design advisory committee and the site plan review meeting to improve our architecture. It was it was lacking in some regard. And that's when we hired Bradley Architects and kind of revamped our approach as it related to architecture. But consistently through this entire project, we have not really had to make a change to the civil engineering side of things. So I think one of the key things that's relevant tonight is the stormwater. That design hasn't changed. Actually, the amount of impervious area has gone down slightly, and we've maintained the same stormwater system rather than change it slightly. We just left it a little oversized. So this is a photograph of what the site looks like according to Google Maps. I'm not sure exactly, this is taken fairly recently. It's a 0.6 acre property, it's undeveloped. It has an address on Main Street, but actually has more frontage on Mahaley Street. So it's a relatively flat lot that has excellent soil conditions, which is why it's in the water quality protection overlay district, and that it's a very sandy, permeable soil, and it has deep groundwater. A little context, there's the photo from around 2008 shows a former building that resided on the site. There was a residential building there on that property. As Kate has already mentioned, neighborhood is fairly mixed in use. There's a chiropractor across the street, there's Pilates next door, there's parking lots and some commercials, there's also residences. Right next door is a fairly large, looks like a multifamily building. This location was previously permitted for a mixed-use project that's slightly larger than the one we're proposing now. It had about 1,600 square feet, about 4 times the commercial space, and an additional residential unit. So what we're proposing is a little bit smaller. And that photo in the lower right-hand corner is what the architecture generally looked like on the approved application from 2019. That is not our architecture. So the zoning here on the site is it's clearly located in the MXD zone. It's also located in the water quality protection overlay district, and all the requirements of the MXD zone dimensionally are met. So we have a project that fits this zone in this location on this property. So kind of as a comparison, if you use the 2019 plan as a baseline, I put together just a short table that kind of covers the general topics I think of design as we look at them. First of all, this building is lower as it relates to half a story. It's not as tall as a 3-story building. the number of dwelling units has gone from 22 to 21. We have 4 times less commercial space. An important issue, I understand, I wasn't here for all the meetings back then, but there was a large sugar maple tree along the Haley Street. That was, that building on that approval was about 10 feet from that property line, which is where the tree is, right on that property line. We've, with some good architecture and some work on the site design, and now the 22-foot setback, which is generally consistent with the drip line of the tree out towards the edge of the tree, which should minimize impact on it. Parking is actually one space that's an error in Excel, unfortunately. There's one space per dwelling unit in both applications. So the amount of parking is consistent, so we had to I wrote 2 there. Excel adds a number of little drag, right? So my apologies. Sewer and water is public in both cases. There was a fair amount of correspondence back from 2019 about sewer, and that there was a need for a device called I think it's a muffin grinder. It's a sewage grinding device to make sure that you didn't have clogging of the sewer in that area. That is included in our application, so we didn't have to go back through that review process. We included that. Landscaping, I have a plan I'll show you, but we've made a real effort to save existing trees, so I do not think that was really the case. Infiltration is almost identical to what was proposed in the approved plan. I have full calculations, including the 100-year design storm for stormwater. The architectural finish is fairly different. The previous approval was stucco, metal balconies, and decorative cornices, while today's plan, and Robert Harrison is here to answer any questions on architecture. But I think that the photos will speak for themselves. Clean lines, minimal trim, and larger windows. A little different. Well, I think that's consistent with what I see along that stretch of road and fits into the neighborhood character. In both buildings, as it relates to fire protection, apartment type buildings in Massachusetts always require sprinklers, and there is a hydrant right nearby. This particular site has frontage on 2 streets, which also helps with access for fire protection. We took a look at traffic. There's 2 tables here. The one on the top is from the 2019 plan, which was a slightly larger project. And if you look at the trips that were approved then, it was 164 weekday daily trips, which is kind of that middle-ish column in the table. That's now reduced by 20 trips to 144 based on this plan. So, this kind of general rules of thumb for traffic is 100 daily trips is where you might start to look at it or ask an engineer. At 400 trips, AASHTO, which is the American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials, considers it a very low volume road, a very small amount of traffic. DOT looks at curb cuts that have over 2,000 trips a day. So we're at a very low threshold here. And I've worked on other sites in this area. Haley Street actually has curb cuts on both ends, which alleviates the stress at the 2 intersections. We looked at a project years ago on Manville, and that was a dead end street, so a significantly different issue there than we have here, where we have 2 curb cuts, one east and west of the project driveway. Stormwater, kind of the focus of this particular hearing is stormwater and how that works. This is a photograph of what an infiltration system looks like. It's a prefabricated plastic chamber. When it's surrounded by crushed stone and has a couple of feet of earth on top of it, it can support vehicle traffic. So we have this system proposed under the parking lot. The on-site soils are very permeable and sandy. We have a low groundwater table. So this will do exactly what it's supposed to do in this district. The one potential issue is contamination. You want to make sure you have clean water going to this. So we have a very expensive treatment manhole. It's called the hydrodynamic separator. It's kind of creates a circular flow to the water, like centrifugal force, that draws out all total suspended solids and drops them into a fairly large sump. There's a full maintenance plan included in the application as it relates to this unit. And is included in the plan. And again, that's the identical design approach. I agree with the former designer for this application. This is the proper approach. This is a picture of the landscape plan. I know there's been a lot of discussion about the large maple, but there's really three fairly mature trees in that corner of the property, and they're the lighter green color on this plan. Those trees are to be maintained. I show some foundation plantings. I show a hedge along the neighbor to the south, and then also show street trees. We've got seven street trees we're proposing along the property line of frontage of the two streets. This we believe will create the type of landscaping that's outlined in the bylaw. We have outlined the size of the trees and the types to be native species and consistent with species we've observed up and down this section of Main Street. So that kind of summarizes really the approach. I didn't spend time on the multifamily approach or use at this site because it's now by right. At town meeting last year, the MXD zone allows multifamily by right. But if you have questions or comments about that, we can discuss it. But so the project will create 21 apartments in an office. The apartments are being offered at market rate, term rental rates, walking distance to downtown. Traffic flow and parking have been designed to move in a safe and efficient manner. We believe with frontage on two existing public ways that we have sufficient circulation and access around the project, the proposed building. The MXD zone allows this use by right. The property was previously developed, so it's technically a redevelopment site, although we've taken no consideration for that. We've designed it as if it were a new site. But I believe it being a vacant site underutilized in town makes it right for development. The project will have potentially a positive impact on tax base. So thank you. And I have all the design drawings that are here. One thing I didn't mention, but I just want to jump back to is lighting. This will be discussed at length with the planning board, but this map actually has very small numbers on it. And if you'll notice, there's zeros all along the property lines, and that's a foot candle measurement that shows that there won't be light spillage onto the neighboring properties. That was a comment at one of I believe the planning board meetings. It was 0.1 foot candles in one location, so we corrected that. And then there was just a ton of work done on architecture. This project has been maturing as it relates to this topic over several months, and we believe we've come a long way with this building fitting on that location and really having what we believe to be somewhat of a front facade on both streets. So thank you.
I'm good.
So next will be public comments and questions to speak in favor or opposition. Do you have something to say? Either raise your hand if you're virtual or come up to the microphones. You have 3 minutes to speak. And I prefer, although I'll be somewhat lenient, that what we're voting on is the water quality overlay district. So anything else pertaining to that is really not in our purview. So you can right up, state your name and address.
Is there a slide that would help you?
What's that?
Is there a slide that would help you?
I asked, but they said that I could.
No, but one of his.
One of yours, no, I'm old school too, so I had hard copies. I'm gonna try to rush through this, but I'm not gonna rush through too much, because I think there are important things to say. To your point, I don't know, these are not specifically associated with the water quality overlay. And maybe they need to be said again at the planning committee.
I would agree.
But I'll rip through this anyway.
We need your name and address.
Yeah, I'll get there. Sorry. Alan Bogdan, I'm 12 Haley.
Mr. Bogdan, would you like to screen up or?
You can leave it up. Yeah, 12 Haley, I'm a direct abutter. Anybody else wants somebody to use it, feel free. Okay, so. All right, first of all. I'm not anti-development, and I think the developer has done a professional job of this. They've obviously gone to a lot of troubles and they've invested a lot of money, and It is basically basically meeting our bylaws, but there are three things I want to speak to. I'll say roughly suitability, parking, and traffic flow. The bylaws for the MXD zone in 911 state that the purpose of projects in the MXD is hereby established to preserve and enhance the mix of residential and retail uses and to maintain the existing character of the area, ... So all of the discussion about how this is supported by the community is really not meaningful to me. It's not the Mahawi Street community that supports this. I think it really doesn't. Great Barrington might, but not the Mahawi Street area. And that's what the bylaws are speaking to. I think people should take a walk down Mahawi Street. It is basically looks just like any other Great Barrington residential zone. Quiet, beautiful, mature shade trees, single family and multifamily dwellings, as you noted. We do have commercial businesses. They are run out of residential housing stock, so no commercial buildings. Plenty of off-street parking, minimal traffic, so no effect on parking. They're good neighbors. They respect the residential nature of the street. They take care of their lots. There are basically right around 20 housing units on the street. It's a great place for young families because it's a bit more affordable than other areas. So we have lots of kids up and down the block, bicycles, scooters, you name it. We have a very active bus stop at the end of Mahawi at Route 7. And you'll oftentimes see parents waiting for their kids there right in front of this area. Lot coverage is typical of a residential area in the 10 to 30% range. So lots of green space available for gardens and cookouts and kids. This project with 21 housing units and one office totals almost 16,000 square feet of living space. And it's basically being plopped down in a quiet residential street with modest residential houses. It will more than double the number of residents. And then like every other building on the block, it will have lot coverage that approaches 75%. And just in case people don't know what that really means, this is what 75% looks like. It basically is totally building and asphalt, except for a small green band around the outside. Okay, moving on. The meat of this, let's talk about parking. The proposal is for 12 two-bedroom apartments, 9 one-bedroom apartments, and 1 office space. It provides 22 spaces, which is the minimum required by the bylaws. 5 of the spaces are grass on gravel and are designated as overflow. My personal opinion is that after a snowfall, those spaces will not be usable. These are market rate units, as was noted. They are not low income and not affordable. These units will not be rented by folks without cars who walk to service jobs in Great Barrington at $17.50 an hour. We need those units, but that's not what these are. To live in these units, you'll have to be making well more than a service wage, and you will certainly have a car. So where are all these cars going to go? On slide 7, I basically show you my calculation for how many cars we'll get. I won't go through this because time is limited. But I've looked, I think, at this in a very rational way. And I think if anybody else looks at it in a rational way, you'll come up with similar numbers. I come up with at least 30 cars for these spots, and there are only 21 spaces. The plan that, it's only required to provide 1 space per unit as per the bylaws, but that doesn't mean that they can ignore all the other cars. I mean, where are the cars going to go? The cars are going to go onto Mahawi Street. There isn't any other parking in the vicinity. That's the only place the cars can go. They'll be parked between the stop sign at Route 7 and the proposed development driveway. This will be unsightly, but more to the point, it will be seriously unsafe. Mahawi Street is only 22 feet 8 inches wide. If you go online for 5 minutes, you can see that by any normal traffic flow standard, that is too narrow for on-street parking. If you have parking on both sides of the street, which is what we presently have, there will be one very tight lane down the middle. An F-150 pickup, like everybody drives these days, would barely be able to slip through. An ambulance, likely not. A garbage truck or a fire truck, forget it. It's not getting through. The town could impose one side of the street parking, but of course that is basically imposing new parking restrictions on the tenants that are already there. And even if you did that, you would still have a dangerous intersection because even with one side of the street parking, if you have a couple of cars lined up at the stop sign at Route 7, there isn't an open lane. So cars that try to turn onto Mahawi Street from Route 7 will have nowhere to go. They'll make the turn and they'll slam on their brakes because there's no place to go. I should also note that all this on-street parking means that it's impossible to plow the street. In a snow event, residents are required to get their cars off the street so that the plows can plow the street. But these residents will have no place to put their cars, so they'll just stay there and be plowed in. And finally, best practice is to have a 20-foot corridor for emergency vehicle access. That's typical best practice. That's what we have now, right? The road is 22 feet 8. But with cars parked on one side, or for sure on two sides, we would no longer have that. So again, basic best practices are violated and we have no access for emergency vehicles.
Thank you very much.
I've shown some
Your
layout.
your time is up.
All right, well, I just want to make sure that you guys are looking at this.
We
All
are. This-
right. Okay.
I have a question, Steve, if this isn't citizen speak time, why did you cut him off? He has as much time as the. Always have enough time to follow skills.
But not the case, sir.
The public hearing, though.
It is.
Right?
But none of what he said is what we're voting on tonight. We're voting on the water quality overlay this
Well, I
night.
mean, you can say the same thing about what you said.
No,
It is, to him, it's relevant, though.
well, but I gave him 6 minutes. I was,
But you're.
I'm not gonna give everyone 20 minutes. Okay, let's move ahead. Who else? Who else would like to speak? Go right ahead.
Good evening. My name is Leo Caputo. I'm here with my business partner, Shannon Morse. We have the Pilates space next to this proposed building lot. We strongly oppose the 21-unit project on this half-acre lot. It seems out of scale for our neighborhood, it's a high-density development, like this would disrupt the character and livability of the community. It would also eliminate the valuable green space, likely damage central old trees, changing the look and feel of our neighborhood with concern of the stormwater issues. We do get over flooded every time there's a lot of rain and heavy snow. As a wellness-based business like ours, the planned placement of dumpsters and increased traffic poses a serious concern. Noise, odor, and congestion will directly impact the peaceful atmosphere that our clients rely on. We also have many elderly people who have part of difficulty seeing sometimes, so driveways will be a big concern for us. With risk and increased traffic, reducing visibility. Finally, the unit layout suggests short-term rentals, not permanent homes. It doesn't seem like it would
any
be.
storage at all, or doesn't seem like you could fit for a long term at all in there.
So this undermines neighborhood stability and the sense of community that we value. We urge the board to reject this proposal in favor of a more thoughtful development that respects the scale and spirit of our community.
Wait,
Thank you.
let's go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Aislinn and we own the house at 12 Mahaly. It is a 2-family house, so we do have a tenant, who has an apartment up above where we live in our house. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I basically just want to address the, bylaws that I've been briefed on and educated on. Specifically the fact that with this MXD zoning, it says in the bylaw that it's stated that there is an establishment to maintain the existing character of the area, unless that part is just meant to be kind of blown off or ignored. If it is meant to be considered, I think that a walk down and kind of an observation of what's already there would be pretty fair to anybody with basic understanding of what that bylaw means, that the project doesn't fit in the street. Like I said, I live in a lot that I guess is 0.3 acres of space. this project is proposed to be on a lot of 0.6 acres. I live in a 2-family house, this is 20 units, so I get that the lot size is double. But it's 10 times the amount of, dwellings or residences or places. We have a large garden, we have a yard, that's pretty much the pattern throughout the street. And as someone said, when we take a drive down, especially this time of year, all you see is green, the trees, the bushes, the grass. It's really a beautiful, quaint, quiet street where my kids are growing up. And this doesn't fit in the character of the street, so he said.
Thank you. Anyone else? Online? Yeah, come right up.
Hi, I'm David Salz from 29 Mahabley Street. I just want to amplify the concerns about the vehicular issues on the street. We do have a beautiful street wall of gabled colonial houses going up the street. If anything, that's a deficiency on the street. The houses actually lack backyards, as ample as what you might find in other parts of town. As a result of that, the parking on our own properties is typically kind of stunted. It's kind of constrained. And we all have the experience of having people drop by and need to park in front of our house when they come over for a brief visit. It's unsafe to park on Mahabley Street. And I say this based on empirical evidence of living on Mahabley Street. I tell people, pull onto my lawn if you need to, but don't park on Mahabley Street. People who have rented in the office that's immediately opposite me have given up their office space because their cars have been hit twice. It's a regular phenomenon on Mahabley Street because of the length of the street. People have just enough time to really plow down on their gas pedal. And they actually, I don't know if they look at their cell phone or whatever they do, but the width of the street is not what you would want it to be able to park a car on the street. So just to amplify what's been said about the very obvious fact that if you have a large number of 2-bedroom apartments, we all know that what that means is that there are going to be family members coming and going in 2 vehicles. If 12 of the apartments are 2-bedroom apartments, that means 24 cars plus the other 9 are 1-bedrooms. I get to 35, which is a higher number than my neighbor who said 30, and I didn't even get real granular about it. I'm just trying to say quickly, let's use common sense here. If I need to answer my cell phone as I'm leaving Mahabley Street for Route 7, this has happened more than once. I will pull over by the big historic tree. And I find while I'm briefly parked there, taking the call or figuring out, how to get my bearings, I'm in people's way. I'm too close to the stop sign for safe entries and exits from Mahabley Street. It just doesn't work. And I live on this street and I'm feeling awkward, even though I'm just borrowing someone else's space. It's been, a large vacant lot. It would seem like the most innocent and safe act as opposed to just picking up my phone and having a chat while I try to navigate the intersection. The intersection, guys, is not what you think it is. There are times of day when the southbound traffic now, because of the efficiency of the roundabout, is routing down so many vehicles, you really have to pay attention to get out in between the northbound light cycle that's in front of the big Y. So when we tripled the number of residents on Mahabley Street, I would submit to you that we're gonna have vehicular problems. This is just common sense. It's not a political stance or anything like that. I mean, I know that the house that backs up to this property is a multifamily and you can count the number of units there. And again, it's a fraction. I mean, those are big units. They have living room, dining room, kitchen, 2 or 3 bedrooms, sun porch. It's not the same thing as these very, very efficient tiny floor plans for the 2nd bedroom that's just, very tiny, or a 1-bedroom layout that's very small. So I think we're looking at some trouble, and I don't think it's going to be a safe intersection. Don't try to walk by foot over to Olympian Field from the street corner now. You're gonna have to put a light at the corner. It's just very simple. It's gonna be very, very hazardous if this goes forward.
Thank you. Come right on.
Hello, everyone. Laura Lynn. I'm at Pilates Space, and I just want to second the traffic concerns there at the light. I recently had an experience where construction was being done and the construction sign was placed right near where the stop sign was. It was so hard to have any visibility, so I can't even imagine if there was a building there or other cars parked there. And to what this gentleman said is, yes, you would need a light, which obviously would be not really appropriate to the setting of this. And I also know that we need lots of housing, but again, the scale doesn't seem appropriate for this setting.
Okay. Let's see. Barbara Motts, just unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Barbara Motts, 22 Mahawi Street. I'd just like to add a few additional thoughts to the issue of the proposed placement of the driveway opening onto Mahawi Street as opposed to Route 7. The special permit skims over the issue in a few general assertions about how the placement of the driveway entrance and exit on the Mahawi side of the property would have no impact on the neighborhood. To me, this is an irresponsible assertion that totally disregards and is dismissive of the reality on the ground. I guess the authors of the proposal didn't notice that for a short, narrow street, Mahawi sustains an abundance of vehicle as well as foot traffic. Some of this was already addressed, but they do include a chart with the rush hour traffic figures emanating from the complex, but their analysis ends there. There's no mention of rush hour on Mahawi Street, the cars and pickup trucks streaming up and down, cutting between Route 7 and 23, or the workers checking into the neighborhood's businesses. And most worrying is no mention of the kids running to catch their school bus at the corner exactly opposite to where their proposed driveway cut would be. This is also a concern where the neighbors right across the street would have a really dangerous situation trying to get in and out of their driveways. And I live diagonally across, and I would have a pretty difficult time too. We do already. Also, it's of concern is that Mahawi is a popular walking route, including for the residents of passing through on their way to Big Y or into town. The Riverwalk are just out for their daily walk, for local dog walkers, etc. And also not addressed is that Mahawi Street is, and in my memory over the past 30 years living here, has always been structurally unstable with sidewalks that are at best broken and uneven and in some places non-existent. So people walk down the street, there's no other choice. And this would be definitely another big danger. The points made in the special permit may sound convincing as they paint a lovely picture of the planned development to fit snugly into the 6/10 acre of land. But what is not convincing is how their plan would fit snugly into the surrounding neighborhood. Their failure to address any of the real issues of the impacts of their plan poses real dangers to the surrounding neighborhood as well as to their own residents, which they also haven't considered maybe. They seem more focused on the placement of shrubbery at Route 7 than on the dangers posed by their plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Bailey, go ahead. Just come up to the microphone and you'll be next. Jim, go ahead, unmute yourself.
Yeah, Jim Bailey, Housatonic. I just gotta have a couple of quick questions for the engineer. What's
This
the
is more
soil
comments, but
composition?
you can ask rhetorical questions. Jim, go ahead. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I just unmuted myself. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
All right. So I just have a question for the engineer. What's the soil composition beneath the proposed infiltrators? And is there any type of oil water separator proposed?
Go ahead. This has to do with the water quality.
The soils are a copake, fine sandy loam, very permeable. And yes, there's a thing called a hydrodynamic separator, which is a little more elaborate than a oil water separator that is going to treat the water. That's a documented proprietary system that we're proposing with full maintenance system, protocol that goes along with it.
What's the scheduled maintenance on that system?
There's, she's looking if I answered. There's a quarterly monitoring where you check it. There is also a program where the supplier of the unit will actually do the maintenance. So you can have a service agreement, which is how most of my clients have done it. And they keep the records and take care of it, because those records need to be available for review by the town, which in this case would be the building inspector.
So my next question, God forbid there's an oil leak, fuel leak, gasoline leak in the parking lot, and there's substantial rains, that system fails. So we have permeable soils beneath the infiltrators where the oil or the fuels could get leached deep into the ground.
Go on. It really wasn't a question.
Yeah, the system is designed with a deep sump for storage capacity, I believe of 100 gallons or so. But I'm not sure exactly the number, but it's quite a large number as it relates to spills, and that continued maintenance is an effort to clean up any residuals that are found in the system or in the soils that it collects. So that's how it's managed.
All right, thank you.
There we go. Come on.
Stand this way. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's only for home. Yeah, it's only for home. Just state your name and address and we'll have.
Okay, my name is Sherry Lundy and I'm a teacher at the Pilates studio that's next door. I am also the daughter of a developer in St. Louis, Missouri. I understand the desire to have so many units. Is there any chance you can condense it, have half the number, use more green space for this beautiful area? Or just move the whole project to like the fairgrounds, build to your heart's content? The town of Great Barrington buy this property from the developers, turn it into a park, can be, a market, it can be music, the kids can play. I mean, just think totally different than trying to build something and all of these people that are really on this street. No one's gonna be happy. And as far as the water goes, our parking lot has so much water in it. I don't know what your system is going to exactly do to suck the water out and make it habitable. But we have major problems with snow and rain. Anyway, like I said, this project seems to be making a lot of people unhappy. And everybody loves Great Barrington. Why not make it a green space or just make it cute little cottages? Make 8 of them. And without the parking, without the water, you could think differently. Anyway, that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Brian Hazelton, 17 Manhattan Street. I just have a quick question. This is a special permit, so what is requiring the special permit in the water overlay?
The special permit's required because a certain amount of impervious surface is triggered in the water quality overlay district.
So the property, according to the water overlay district, the project is overly expanded or overdeveloped for this district due to the parking lot and the size of the building?
The water quality protection district sets a threshold at which a certain amount of impervious surface, either square footage or a percentage of the lot, requires review by this board through a special permit. That threshold doesn't say that the lot is overdeveloped. It's just a threshold at which the board needs to review.
And due to 75% of the property done, how far over the suggested amount is it?
I'm sorry, can't answer that question.
But the dimensional requirements in the table, the 75% coverage is allowed in some.
75% coverage is allowed of impermeable surfaces
In this zone,
and
in the MXD zone.
in the MXD zone. Okay, so all the water that, so it's a full asphalt parking lot that's going into these recovery systems so that it'll collect not only, like traces of the asphalt and sift that down in that area, as well as collect all the water from the house and control that whole area.
The plan shows that roof drains from the building are tied into the system. And then we have catch basins, which have deep sumps that removes 25% of the total suspended solids. And then we have a treatment manhole after that in series that further treats the water before it goes into the infiltration system. So we have like a redundant system and it collects all the water on the site. We did the math and modeled it for the 100-year storm, which in this case is approximately 7 inches of rain in one day. So it's a very large system, expensive, elaborate system, which is why this site won't have the water problems you have in the neighborhood. It's an elaborate system.
So when you're saying that this system is allowed, it's allowed only, but it's under special permit, so 75% is maximum with a special permit or what, or the special?
If I may.
Yeah.
The purpose of the special permit, in my opinion, is that when you put impervious area in an area where there's recharge, you want to offset that by recharging groundwater, which is what the system does. So it cleans the runoff and then it recharges it as if there was no pavement. So that the point of this is not to regulate density. It's the point of it is just to make sure there's an appropriate offset for the amount of impervious area as it relates to recharging the groundwater.
Impervious structures like parking lots are often considered structures themselves. And I guess that's more of a planning board level than these guys, but if the driveway is a permanent structure and it's within the setbacks of the neighbor against it.
The definition usually used is in the zone bylaw, which is not, parking is surface treatments are not structures.
Okay, I just did something, a recent project with, on Mahavy Street with a lot of these permeable issues as well. The driveway was considered amongst the select board and the planning board that it was a permanent structure and that we couldn't have asphalt on that much of a surface. We have the same kind of infiltrators and other things collecting in our water. But there's a couple items there that due to the expansiveness of the project and taking up so much space that there's different situations that they may be held to versus other commercial project development that's happened on the same road within the last couple of years. I just like the board to take that into consideration, that we should be passing the same kind of laws down even within a couple of years, project by project, mixed use, commercial development on Mahavy Street.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Anyone else? No one else online? So next. Question from the select board. Go ahead, Bill.
Yes, in no particular order. In Mr. Scalise, in your, I believe in your memo, if you were in 9.2, you refer to this, you say, quote, the existing site is fully developed. Can you clarify what that means?
The current site is not developed. The current site is a lawn. Actually, we didn't take credit for any previous development as part of our drainage calculation. So I think the site was, I think, if I were given the opportunity to reword that, I would say that it was previously developed.
Okay, I certainly agree with that, but again, it was confusing to me. I agree it's a lawn right now. The rainwater system that you're proposing, I'm looking at the picture in the presentation. What is the expected life of that rather elaborate plastic structure that's going to be going on the ground?
We believe those systems will last upwards of 50 years. There's an isolator row. So in the event that there's a situation where there's sediment carryover or there's a way to maintain it without removing it. We have a redundant system at the inflow. And we also have the ability to maintain it should that need arise. You know, if there was a hurricane or some force majeure that caused damage to a related equipment.
So related to that, who is responsible for maintaining that? And I spoke a question with respect to the town's enforcement and the building inspector and who, and with respect to the apartment site, you know, what entity is on the hook for actually performing the repairs if they come up?
The property owner is the stormwater management standards, which are set forth under generally under the Wetlands Protection Act, are by reference required to be followed as part of this process. So that there's a lot of case law and a lot of regulation behind that standard in that policy. And that policy requires by law that the owner is responsible. Now, you could shore that up further by making that a condition of this permit.
I'm not gonna respond to that, but just as a practical matter, you know, I'm not a civil engineer, but things can go wrong with that. I assume it's a well-designed system, but if things go wrong, either from foreseen events like leaves or unforeseen events, whatever they may be, you know, I'm just wondering who is really on the hook for performing those repairs, and what does the town do? What do the residents do if those repairs are not made in a reasonable amount of time?
I honestly, I haven't had that situation yet. I don't know.
And in a similar enforcement theme, again, it's not part of the water discussion, but at the southern portion of the property, there's a long shrub that's being in the plans.
Correct.
To cover the entire border there or property line. And on one end, it's also blocking the, you know, the dumpster. So, and that's probably a key element that's making the apartment complex fit in to a certain extent aesthetically. That's debatable, but so who enforces, who at the towns, for the town, who is responsible for inspecting and enforcing that shrub borderline?
So I'll answer that because it's not, they're not doing the town, it's a building inspector.
Okay.
Also, if I can just give a little bit of, and that's also part of site plan review, that structure will be on the, if that is what the planning board would like to see, the planning board will accept it on site plan review, and that's part of the zoning process. And it will live in the planner's office that shows that that's gonna be there and that was planned. And the building inspector will also have a copy of that as zoning enforcement officer.
Okay, thank you. And again, away from the water issue, just stepping back. Do you, if things all proceed well with respect to the permitting for the planning board and the select board, do you have a schedule in terms of beginning work on the building? When would you start work on the building? Just being mindful of the fact that there are other projects in town completely unrelated to your project, where there've been permits in existence and things have just sort of sat there for quite a while.
Yeah, I would expect that it would take 3 months probably to put together. The drawings that we've presented as part of this application, particularly as it relates to architecture, are 2 to 3 months away from construction drawings, which I would need to apply for a building permit. So I think you have a 3-month lead time usually in that same time period, and parallel you work on things like financing and that sort of thing. But so I would expect that this fall you break ground, and then a year hence you'd have the project built.
Okay, can the developer speak more broadly about the financing and whether or not that's all in place, begin work promptly when the planning is done?
Financing is currently in the pipe. Nothing's concrete at the moment. Due to kind of what they're sitting here.
So a normal permit, as I understand it, is 2 year, is in existence for 2 years, so. If we approve that, if that permit is approved, then they have a 2-year window to begin work on the project. Is that an accurate way to look at it?
I believe special permits are valid for 3 years.
3 years, I'm sorry.
Other questions, man, Eric?
Yeah, just as far as the water runoff and everything, you speak to that a little more. Phil ran through a lot of questions, but is there, as far as the maintenance and the surrounding area, basically existing amount of storm drains for water runoff all goes into a collection, or can you speak a little more detailed into that?
Yeah, so
And
the
how
way,
full system works?
the way the system was designed is that, the way stormwater, analysis is completed, you do a model of the property as it is today.
Mhm.
Then you compare that to a model of what it would be if this were developed, and you take that delta, that difference. You need to manage that water to make the amount of water that exits this property at or below what it is now. Very often on redevelopment sites, which is a site that has any degraded area, any driveway, any buildings, you would look at those existing buildings as part of the existing condition. In this case, because the lot appears to be a lawn at this time, we ignored the historical runoff numbers and we called it lawn. So there's no credit taken for there's still an old foundation out there. We didn't take any credit for any of that as it relates to runoff, and we called the entire area basically a park setting. And then we looked at the amount of runoff. The way the system is designed, because it's completely underground, it's not a conventional pond. These types of systems, they tend to have to be over-designed to function. So the only storm, there isn't an overflow built on this system, so when you get that large rainfall, it doesn't bubble out of the ground or damage the parking lot. In this case, you have less than 1 cubic feet per second, which is how we kind of measure runoff. There's 0.7 CFS coming off this in a 100-year storm. So
It's a CFS.
cubic feet per second. It's a rate of flow. So the point is, usually it's considered de minimis if it's less than 1. I'm telling you that this system is designed to completely capture most rainstorms. Now, when I started my career, I'd never seen a 100-year storm. Now I've seen half a dozen. So we all know there's climate change, and rain is, well, every Saturday it seems to rain. But we get hot. What's actually happening is we're getting very high intensity, short duration rainfalls. So we get flash flooding is what's happening. So folks are starting to notice it, although we're not getting really the volume of runoff. I mean, as it relates to drought, we don't have we're not far from we're almost at average as it relates to the amount of rainfall. The fact is we're getting these high duration, these very high intensity, short duration runoff rainfall. So this system has been designed, for the standards that I'm required to follow, which is the rainfall in 24 hours, but it's over designed in such a way that it'll manage these high intensity storms. So the only thing that's going to restrict this is the number of inlets, frankly. So we've hard piped the rooftop, which is a significant amount of hard surface on this property is the roof. So that's all hard piped into the system. So I don't have an inlet restriction for that. And then I have like 3 catch basins, which typically you have a catch basin about every 250 feet down a town road. So we have a lot of inlets here. We have a treatment system that's designed for a high flow of water quality volume, which most sites, particularly smaller sites like this, is for a 1/2 inch runoff, and this one's designed for 1 inch. So we didn't spare any expense or effort in trying to design the system. We believe it's over-designed for this application, but we think it's appropriate because of the coverage and small size of the property.
And this treatment system's mechanical, obviously.
It's there's no moving parts.
Yeah.
The water flows in and it's put into like a funnel shaped device that's proprietary that gets the water in a circular motion, much like a toilet bowl. The like a centrifuge, if you were ever to chemistry, and it sends the heavier sediments to the outside of that ring, and that drops down into the sump. There's quite a large sump. This manhole is quite large. It's probably a 6-foot diameter manhole, 5 feet deep below the pipe inlet. So there's like a large tank there, frankly, so that it has a time for this water to sit there and settle out the solids. And DEP has determined that by doing that, you remove the majority of the contaminants on average as it relates to this type of system.
For the board's information, the town uses these systems in capital projects that build streets and parking lots.
Sorry, one more, if if you're done. And it was a reference somewhere in the materials to either this version or an earlier version, to a cantilevered roof over the car park. Is that still?
No,
being
that's,
used?
that's been eliminated. That was version 2 of our architecture, that had some issues. There was issues with the columns and parking cars and, the size of the units. So we've abandoned that plan.
Eric, you have anything else?
That covers it as far as the water situation.
Ben, anything?
No.
So the question for the board is, do we want to vote tonight or do we want to continue? What you feel prepared to do?
Although I guess I feel semi-prepared to vote, but I do think that the order of things, the way the meeting's laid out, that it only makes sense to wait until after the planning board. Whether we're discussing site and the water overlay, I just feel like this should have been the last step of the process personally, but that's up for debate.
And the planning board is going to do site plan review. And they're not going to do anything with the water quality overlay district now, correct, Chris?
The planning board site plan review also does include a review of stormwater. Whether the project requires water quality special permit or not, that is always a criteria, especially the site plan review, like I said. So the planning board did review the previous plan, looked at the stormwater, the parking, the trees, and made comments on the architecture as well. Typically, what the planning board will do is, first of all, it uses its site plan review criteria to help guide its own discussion and guide its recommendations to the special permit granting authority. So that's what the planning board did back in February or March, and made a recommendation on the special permit. And said it would complete its site plan review once the applicant had come to the select board. In case the select board made any tweaks to the site, which maybe resulted in some drawing changes, typically the planning board then will wait. If the project has been granted a special permit, that means it's allowed under the zoning. And then all the planning board has to do is look at the site plan and tweak it, shape the fine details to ensure compliance. And ensure it fits well into the neighborhood according to its site plan criteria. So that's typically the way the planning board will work. It's kind of a extra review after the select board makes its decision.
Eileen, you had a question? Too much about process?
Yeah, excuse me. Whoops. Oh, the planning board saw the old plans, not the new ones, though. Wouldn't that make a difference?
That's kind of what we're deciding right now. I think that is something we have to discuss.
And because, Chris was indicating that they had seen the plans, but they were, as you know, the old ones. Thank you.
That's true. Thank you.
Exactly what I said.
Yeah.
It's all. The select board can do what it feels comfortable with. Even if you close the hearing tonight, you're under no obligation to vote tonight. You can close it and vote another time. It's completely up to you. Or you can leave it open. Somebody have comments?
If we close the public hearing, questions to the applicant from the select board can still be.
No,
That's
you should
my
receive
point.
all the evidence that you can during the public hearing
Right.
portion.
So I don't want to close the public hearing because if we continue this and the planning board makes recommendations that affects the water quality overlay district that we want to talk to the applicants about, we won't be able to.
Well, I defer your recommendation with respect to the sequencing. I would say that the stormwater element of this, to me, again, not being a civil engineer, but the stormwater element of this and the water district element of this is relatively straightforward in my mind, and it has been addressed. Many of the other issues that were brought up today by the residents are a bit of a different matter.
I think that one of the reasons to continue, as Chris said, not that he was advocating to continue, but is because the planning board has not commented on the latest version. And if there's anything there that affects the water quality overlay district, we would give them a chance to comment. Unlikely, but I'm not as skilled as the planning board in these things. So do I have a motion? Does someone want to make a recommendation? Eric?
Yes, I make a motion that we continue the public hearing until Monday, the 23rd, 2025 at 6 p.m. at Town Hall in Great Barrington.
June 23rd.
June 23rd, 2025 at 6 p.m. at Town Hall.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, just to kind of echo what Phil was saying, that I think a lot of very valid points were raised by the residents of the neighborhood tonight, and I think that it's a little outside the purview of what we're looking at, but obviously it does. I encourage everyone to go to the planning board on Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
And then we'll get it back, but
Part of the problem is if this is by right,
yeah,
they should still go and they should still
Yeah.
give their opinions. And it makes it a little more difficult because it's not a special permit by the planning board, but
Sure.
I agree. with you.
Yeah.
Roll call, Phil.
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
Aaron.
Aye.
And I, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So this one, I'm gonna step out.
Oh, yeah, if you're gonna do that, I think it's feel bad. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna move along here. Take any conversation out into the hallway, please. So the next is an application from, for the addition of an outdoor alcohol service area to the all alcoholic beverage on premises license at Common or Garden Pub, 425 Park Street, Housatonic. Eric Gabriel has recused himself as landlord. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So be it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, Phil.
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
Garfield.
Aye.
And it's unanimous. Do I have someone here to explain, please? Introduce. Good.
This is for Zinnia.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, it's fine. All right, so I'll just start by giving you guys the rundown, if that's cool. Okay, so,
Name for the.
a statement,
Name, state your name.
oh, Chrissy Long.
And your address.
My home,
Yes. please.
30 Elm Street, apartment 2B, Great Barrington.
Thank you.
Awesome. So I'm here to state my case in favor of hosting an outdoor seating / standing area for the guests of Common or Garden Pub this summer and fall season. I do understand that a neighbor has expressed their concern for noise, but I believe their interpretation and expected outcome of this additional space does not reflect reality. The space will include a few tables along the sidewalk that are closer to the road and will not be impeding any handicap access or entrance and exits. And then that it will also include an enclosed area along the front lawn that will be fenced in securely. It will host diners until our kitchen closes at 9. And the front lawn and that sidewalk area will always be ultimately closed at 10 p.m. In my opinion, and my belief is that the space will not affect that outdoor noise level. For the past year, guests have already stepped outside to smoke, relax, enjoy the weather, chat. If anything, this space will allow my staff and me to control the flow of guests, keep outdoor movements much more organized, and also kind of keep track of the amount of people outside.
That is because the only access to the outside would be through the building. So I'm changing it so there would just be one entrance and one exit that would be controlled through the flow of the building. And essentially, in other words, people will be outside anyways, they have been. But by creating a designed outdoor space, it'll allow us just to control the flow more. So I think if anything, it makes more sense. In controlling any issue of noise. I have a few additional points that are relevant to this. First is that, I'd say about 3 months ago. Yeah, actually in March, I actively shifted my business philosophy towards being a more of a family-friendly restaurant and away from being labeled as a late-night bar. My insurance policy, which my previous one and my current one, which I have here, reflect that. My liquor liability has changed from 6,614 based on live music, hours, all that stuff, to now being $794 for the year. Because I specifically worked with an agent to essentially have that reflect the change in the way I want to run my business. My hours reflect this as well as all my website and social media messaging, which I also have something printed out to provide to you guys. And like I said, this shift took place before this application was even put in, so I think this person was specifically concerned about live music events that were happening last summer. That definitely drew large crowds, and then obviously brought certain outdoor noise. Those will not be happening this year. I'm not doing any more live music or late night events. And then just my final second point is that to not have outdoor seating would put my business in jeopardy. Last year, I received calls and had visitors all summer asking if we had outdoor seating. And when we said we didn't, these potential customers would leave. You can ask any business owner in this area how important outdoor seating is for their businesses. As a restaurant in such a seasonal place, it's essential to maximize profit in the busy season. And this is simply just the reality of the restaurant business in this area. I hope that the fears and trepidation of one neighbor will not prevent me from finding success this summer, and more importantly, providing an additional space for locals and tourists to enjoy our beautiful area. And one additional piece of information that's super important is I have a private event booked for a very beloved and loyal customer that is about 3 times the proposal for the budget for hosting this event for him. His 70th birthday party is 3 times the amount of any proposal I've had otherwise. And he has specifically requested outdoor access. So just to put things in perspective, there's already things planned that could really save my business. So just to confirm, it would be closed at 10 so as to minimize any noise complaints and any time after that.
I'm sorry, what were the prior hours of operation before?
The application was 11 AM to 12 AM.
Right,
So
so I can change that to 10 PM, absolutely.
we will do that. So public comments and questions to speak in favor or opposition? Seeing none. Yes, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Michelle Bear, 70 Division Street. I'm just a little confused where the outdoor seating is going to be. I used to live at 386 Park Street, which is directly across from, well, back then it was the brick house. So I'm trying to visualize where the seating, because the front of the building where the sidewalk is on a slope. And there had been talk when I lived there of outdoor seating behind the building where the river was, as you could look at the river. Secondly, when we lived at 386 Park Street, there were noise issues. There was actually one time, there was a huge legal battle between my husband and I and the then owners, doesn't mean it's you. So I think part of the issue is the river, the sound carries over to Park Street. So I'm just a little concerned because people can be loud there. I come from a loud family. If we were there, we'd be loud. It's just, but it's not what it is, it's how it's done. But I'm just a little confused where the tables are going to go, because I'm going, are you going to be on a tilt or, you know?
I'm happy to answer that.
Yeah, all right, go ahead.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. So that's a great question. The tables that I plan on having are just a few along that sidewalk, and I'm essentially gonna have to prop up the tables to level them. To level them. Because that is the area where it's sloped. I don't plan on having tables outside on the front lawn area. It will not be in the back area. It'll just be in the front. So any like concern about travel, sound traveling across the river, that won't be a thing because it's not out back. The front area is more so like, the Prairie Well has their patio, right? So they can seat, they have tables out there. But they also have a green grassy area where there's a ping pong table, or, there's like kids running around and like just enjoying being outside, waiting for their table to be ready or whatever. So that outdoor lawn area is more so, to like, I think I'll put cornhole out there. It'll be a place where kids can hang outside. Like I said, if there's weights for tables, people can hang out there. Because otherwise, if there are weights or whatever, like people essentially will just be congregating like on the side of the building where the main entrance is. And that's usually where people smoke, and sound does carry that way. And also it's not a contained space. So my idea is that having this contained designated area will control where people are congregating, waiting for tables, or just simply enjoying being outside. So it'll be less about dining and more of just providing like a clear space where people can enjoy themselves.
I'm just looking at the map on my phone, I'm not. looking-
Yeah, no
looking-
problem.
So anyone else wants to speak in favor or opposition? Or any comment? Selectboard questions?
Hi.
Hi.
All right, so just to be clear, so the main entrance is still gonna be off of the driveway parking lot area. And that's what is labeled entrance one here, on facing the street.
Yes.
Is just for people coming out from, so essentially, as you were saying, for like kids playing and stuff, they would
Right.
still, you go in, check with the host,
Mhm.
then kind of go out to that
Yeah.
area. Okay,
I think my original idea was to have like two entrances, but I think it makes more sense to have that area roped off near the front door.
Yeah.
And just have all traffic that wants to be outside come through the building, just so we can keep track of everyone.
Okay.
Kids, etc. So if there would be one entrance, one exit for the separate space.
and that door will only be opened when people are kind of going in and out. Yeah,
Yeah, and then that will allow me to essentially close that door and
Yeah.
control, people going out after 10 PM.
you mentioned smokers who have traditionally smoked
Oh,
on
yeah.
that bench right by the
Yeah.
doors. Now you have seating out there.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, where they're gonna go now?
I think that the outdoor area I wanna put them out there somewhere as far as possible from people.
Yeah.
So people aren't walking into the entrance of the building with people throwing their cigarettes, smoking their cigarettes, they were throwing them in the flower bed, like, there was no way to control it, right? So I think this is actually an opportunity to sort of get a handle on this. So I'll have a designated smoking area out front that is basically as far away as possible from people and the building. Eric has been, Eric's requested that I buy cigarette receptacles too, just to minimize, the mess, so. I think it all kind of works together actually to reach a goal that we all want.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, just to confirm a basic point, is all the seating area is gonna be on the Front Street side as opposed to the other side, right?
Yes, yeah, I think there's basically room for about 2 tables out there. And it will be a challenge because it is a sloped area, so it's something that I want and I'm working towards. Will the tables be there the moment this is approved and I get everything fenced in? Maybe not. But I do want to prioritize people being able to be outside and like I said, like have cornhole and all that stuff. No one wants to drink and
eat inside on a beautiful 80-degree summer day in a dark pub.
Other questions?
Yes, I was just, well, I'm a non-smoker and you're saying you're gonna have an area out front, can you put that area out back? So people that are coming in won't have to walk through the smoke? And you said something about roping off the park. It had me concerned whether or not it's gonna have
Yeah.
egress for the fire department, whomever, if it's gonna be roped off.
I'm not sure where it could go out back, just because out back is like staff parking and leads to that grassy area that you had mentioned, which would be amazing for outdoor seating at one point, but not gonna happen anytime soon. I'm not sure where I could put that, but I would be open to other options. But ultimately, if I were to move it to this front area, it at least would take it away from the direct front door entrance of when you walk in the building, which is, I think, is a step up for sure.
So when do you stop, the kitchen stop serving?
Kitchen stops serving at 9. So this would kind of give it an hour buffer for people to, finish up, get inside.
Other questions?
And then that's blanket, right? That it's last call is essentially 9 and you close at 10 every night, or there's.
The bar stays open till 11.
Okay.
But I could close, I'd be happy to close the
Close.
outdoor at 10. Cause that's also I'm sure there's gonna be a mess out there and I'm gonna want someone to, clean it up, close it down, all that stuff. So I'm cool with that. People wanna play pool anyways, so.
Yeah.
I feel like, 9 PM, kitchen closes, 10 PM outdoor closes, bar closes by 11.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion. So close public hearing.
Got a second?
Second.
Roll call, Phil.
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
Garfield.
Aye.
And I. Any discussion?
Just to say thank you for putting this together. I live relatively close, safe to say. I have never dealt with any noise issues from your establishment during your tenure. I understand that the engineering of the river and the mills, I think, does make it different from park, but I do feel like you are really trying to address that, especially with the new business plan. I have a 4-year-old daughter. We bring her frequently to eat, and so I do recognize your move towards being a family establishment.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
I have documents if you guys would like them for
Sure.
file.
Sure. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, thank you so much, you guys.
No, let us vote first.
Okay.
You just want to, we'll put them in your mailbox, Crystal, but Natalie made copies of them, so we all have them. Okay, so what I'd like is a motion to approve the all alcoholic beverages on premises license at Common or Garden Pub, 425 Park Street, Housatonic, with the hours of 11 AM to 10 PM. Do you have a motion?
Okay.
So that's so moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Phil.
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
Garfield.
Aye.
And I, it's unanimous.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Eric?
It may us start there another 45 minutes and move it. Oh, okay. It's like, I understand that, we didn't vote, we didn't vote. That's the 23rd. It's in there.
Next is application for an addition of an outdoor alcoholic service area to the all alcohol beverage on premises license at Lucy's Rendezvous, 268 Main Street, Suite B and C, Great Barrington. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, Phil.
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
And I. Is someone here for explanation? Perfect.
Zach Morris, 22, for Great Barrington. And, basically I'm just here to ask for permission to put a couple tables in the alleyway. They were like questions about having ropes, like I already have ropes on, like to fly people off and, yeah, I don't know, I was worried, I don't have like a whole speech prepared like she did, but I was, or just here to ask for promotion. Yeah, it's like,
Okay,
sorry,
that's fine.
Yeah, what I was really, I didn't really know what I was walking into, I was still in for business.
Yeah, no problem. Public comments, anyone to speak in favor or opposition or with questions or comments? Here.
So yeah, I applied for like 4 to 9:30, I believe on there, because I didn't want people. I mean, people are gonna be outside smoking anyways, but I didn't want people like openly drinking out there past 9:30, because that's annoying for people, obviously. Yeah, I think I've got 4 tables set up. I've got like ropes, like the movie theater type rope thing. And yeah, just from 4 to 9, just having tables. The alleyway is 15 feet wide. And I think I asked for 8 feet, leaving 7 for pedestrians to go by, like the Rubiner side. And yeah, it's just a circle outside and it's weather basically. Yeah.
Anyone else? No, okay, now we'll take questions from the board. Go right ahead now.
Well, the guidelines for outdoor alcoholic beverage service areas requires that the area be enclosed by a barrier, fence, or partition. So the question is whether or not your rope qualifies as that. I don't know the answer.
Yeah, no, it's like a plastic chain, like, yeah, movie theater type thing. The other businesses in town that have outdoor drinker eating and drinking don't have barriers either. I mean, I will have real things, but they don't have, like, Boomtown doesn't have anything or Miller. Not to throw them under the bus or anything. I just, yeah, I will have barriers.
And not there late, but my observation is that some of your customers have been in that alley already. They're just standing up as opposed to sitting down. Is that
Well,
fair?
they're not drinking. Yeah.
Do you know they're not drinking out there, or you presume?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have some very big windows.
Yeah, the one there.
Into the service area.
It's big.
So let me just read this section, number 6 of the guidelines for outdoor alcoholic beverage service areas. All outdoor alcoholic beverage service areas must be enclosed by a barrier, fence, or partition sufficient for the licensee to maintain control access to the area, provide a safe environment for patrons. I'm not saying that your rope isn't, what I'm saying is that we may have to do a better job through the building inspector, because that is now a requirement. These requirements were, somewhere, I think, April 7th, 3 years ago, so we may have to deal with on top of that.
It'll fall more on town for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because we are now the licensing authority for this. Used to be, we would approve it and it would go to the state, and it no longer happens. Go ahead. Whoever has a question.
Zach, is it bar service, or will there be someone actually coming out to take orders and provide drinks, or will people just be taking the drinks from the bar back up?
Oh, I mean, I don't know if this, I was planning to go through the window because I thought that'd be tough with interesting, but yeah, that's not okay. I can definitely be walking outside or they could, because I'll have those, like I said, I'll have those ropes, so they could come inside and then just walk out as well.
I think having a way to monitor same way that, just having that visibility that you have in the bar too, right? Just being able to kind of keep track of who you're actually serving is important.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Have you had any complaints from your neighbors on noise?
Not noise, I mean, not that I know, unless Eric has to.
No, I mean, it's, with summer, I think it's a little bit noisier, but so. Happened.
Eric, why don't you come up with this? Otherwise, no one's gonna hear what you're saying. And identify yourself, please.
My name is Eric Boone, 264 Main Street.
the third floor. Yeah, no, I mean, seems to be a well-run place. I have no reason to be, complaining about the activity there. There was only one time when it felt very loud, when there was a particular event. Someone's death is associated with it.
Oh, yeah, that was the busiest day ever.
But, you know, it's, they're good neighbors and, you know, summertime comes, it's a little bit more, but it isn't. I'm more concerned about there being, lax enforcement of it in other parts of the town. If there is supposed to be a barrier, there are obviously places that don't have that.
And I just said that to first.
What's that?
I just said that's the first.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be, you know, to all of a sudden say, it's been very cumbersome to put a permanent barrier in the middle of, the alleyway.
It doesn't say permanent.
Yeah, okay, but I mean,
They would just, I believe the intention, and I don't wanna interpret too far, is to delineate.
yeah,
So that people are either inside or outside. It's not, it doesn't have to be a stone or brick wall.
well, it's obvious whether you're inside or outside because there's a building. The side.
No, inside or outside of the outdoor space.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I wasn't clear.
Yeah, I mean, just say that it's become a bit more of a sprawling thing throughout town.
I think that's something we are now aware of and
Yeah.
we'll work on.
Yeah, but I have no specific concerns about this, especially if it stops at 1:30. So. Yeah, that's my view.
Questions from the board? Any further questions?
I would, I don't know if I have questions. Well, I guess I do. So maybe a few comments, but Zach, just on the drawing here, just, so it's clear and on record, since this was handed in, we got 6 tables at about 50 feet of space
Yeah.
and then, 10 feet wide.
The,
The roped off area is what it shows.
10 feet away from the building.
Yeah, from the side of the building out.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
So that's what we're showing there, and whether it's served out those windows or not, I think the most important thing is that it's monitored, just for the fact that, as we all know, it's a busy alleyway and the old grab and go or handoff or something, we would be concerned about.
And I think that's really important because on Main Street, we've had that problem years ago, you know, somebody buys a bottle of beer, hands it to someone who's outside the area, they walk down Main Street. So it's just so we have some control of this.
So then, and then just in the general discussion of these, you know, it being more in our court now, I think there's some run over from COVID times with outdoor eating space and all that, and with the visions in which I enjoy the outdoor space, and I think it makes the town look more alive with all the tables out in the streets and all that stuff, but I guess we do have to step up enforcement and just make sure. With that being said, the permanent, not semi-permanent structures, I think it's important on what they look like. To not take away from the beauty of especially Railroad Street in the downtown area, so I think
He's
you're,
lucky as this is a private alleyway.
yeah,
That makes it a little easier, not that we wanted to block it, but the sidewalks on Main Street or Railroad have to be kept open.
yeah.
So, yes, you're true.
But I guess I would just say to Zach and basically going forward to everybody else, it's just something that has to be definitely extremely monitored and no reported incidences of it getting spilling out of your zone, I guess, and people walking around the corner or whatever it may be. That's something that we have to keep an eye on and enforce.
Okay, so that's the questions from the select board, unless somebody has some, let's close the public hearing, then we can have discussion. So motion to close the public hearing,
So move.
second, roll call, Phil, aye, Ben.
Aye.
Garfield.
Aye.
Eric. And I. So select board discussion.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of to Eric's point and to, I think what's kind of come up with this is that I do think we need to it raises what our role in this is now that so much of this responsibility rests on this board to kind of make sure that we're being consistent across town with these payments. But as far as this one goes, I do think it matches. It meets my everything I'm looking for, basically.
See, just to clarify, you said that's a private alleyway?
That's a private alleyway. There's a letter in here giving permission to use it.
Okay, I didn't appreciate it, just pulled it, right, okay.
I didn't realize it was a private alleyway until tonight.
So it's not a fire access issue at all?
No, but this is truck. Or couldn't.
You go wrong.
Yeah, I can't get to the other side.
Okay,
Yeah, and as far as the barriers, what I don't want to do is hold him to a different standard than everyone else, and I think that's Ben's point. So I think we're holding to the standard, which is the guidelines promulgated by the state, and we need to hold everyone to those standards.
Yeah, I didn't mean to like.
No, you didn't.
Like, I don't want everyone to keep me in town.
Too late now.
It's springtime and you're applying and have a right to, and, you know, we're looking at these regulations, so.
well, okay,
Yeah.
just, I would be inclined to allow Zach to proceed as he's planning on proceeding, provided that if we get some additional intelligence from the state about what exactly the barrier rules mean, that he may have to.
Yeah, we would,
Barrier.
there's two things we would be able to do. If there were problems there, we would revisit this as with any other. And as far as if guidelines changed or more specific, they would have to follow those. So not just for Lucy's rendezvous, but for all places, you're correct.
This, for a point of clarification, would this be something that Zach comes back every season for? This outdoor season?
Sure.
Don't believe so.
I don't believe so, because no one else is.
Ends when you have to reapply,
Yeah,
like at the end of your initial.
For the beginning of the year, it's your regular application.
So the new license would
Yeah.
have it, they would apply as part of.
Right, new
Okay.
license.
And we would vote on it in December.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't have to go through the whole application process again. It's just,
Yeah.
This like.
Yeah.
So it could be up for review anytime we want, but also at our yearly in December when we.
Yeah.
Right, yes.
Yearly meeting. Okay.
I'd like us to be a little more proactive in that if there's a problem, I'm
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
Chrissy, Zach, and anybody else would like to know instead of we surprise them in December.
Surprise.
It was a terrible summer for you, I didn't even tell you. Okay, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the outdoor seating area for Lucy's Rendezvous. I'm.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, Phil,
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
Garfield.
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
and I, two members. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
Okay, move along. Licenses and permits, application for a temporary beer and wine license. Great Barrington Fish and Game Association, Father's Day and Turkey Shoots, 338 Long Pond Road, Housatonic. Sunday, June 15th, 2025, and each Sunday from September 14th through November 23rd, 2025. All events from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., 12 events total. Is there someone here? Okay, there you go. Okay, you're unmuted to state your name.
Yes, my name is Jess Eichstead. I am the secretary of the Great Barrington Fish and Game, and I'm also the main bartender.
And this is an event that these events we approve every year. Do you want to speak any about them or?
Sure, yeah. So the one we have coming up this Sunday is our annual Father's Day lobster shoot, where people come and win lobsters, steaks, clams, chicken, pork. It's a great event. People come with their dads, just have a good time. We sell lobster tickets. People win raffles for 15 pounds of lobster. It's like our big event.
Great. Anyone have any questions from the board? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the temporary beer and wine license for Great Barrington Fish and Game Association for the Father's Day and Turkey Shoots at 338 Long Pond Road, Housatonic. Sunday, June 15th, 2025, and each Sunday from September 14th through November 23rd, 2025. All events from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. 12 events in total.
Do I have a second?
Second with just a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so Sunday, June 15th, you're having a Father's Day turkey shoot, et cetera. So will there not be another shoot, if you will, until September 14th? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, that's correct. I figured I'd just do them all right now, so that way
Okay, good. I just want to make sure that was how that worked. Thank you.
yeah, no.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
Application for,
Up done.
okay, application for temporary entertainment license, Berkshire Natural Resources Council, Tomball Mountain Reserve Trail opening located on Alford Road, half-mile past Division Street intersection, Saturday, June 28th and Sunday, June 29th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Is anyone here for that? Yep. You want to give a little bit of an explanation, Taylor? State your name and address for the record, please.
Hi there, can you hear me?
We can.
All right, my name's Taylor Strawback. I'm the Community Engagement Manager at BNRC, and we are opening a trail on Tomball Mountain Reserve, and we're just gonna have kind of a small celebration for the trail opening on both days. Our presence there is really in hopes to help control parking and make sure that, you know, the space is kind of welcomed into the community, but not overrun at the same time. We are going to have a couple tables with employees and volunteers. Volunteers and employees will both be on hand to help with parking and to talk to the community and do some guided hiking. And we're going to hand out some bag trail mix, and we'll have some boxed water. And yeah, it should be a fun event.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve a temporary entertainment license to Berkshire National Resource Council, Tomball Mountain Reserve Trail opening located on Alford Road, approximately a half-mile past Division Street. Saturday, June 28th and Sunday, June 29th, 2025, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Do I have a second?
Yeah.
Any discussion?
So there is a designated parking lot at the trailhead, correct? So-
Yes, there is. There is right now, it's being finished up and it should be open and in time for the event.
How many parking spots?
There is about 15, I believe.
Okay, and so how many people are you expecting for the event?
We are not sure at this point how many we're expecting. We are doing a lot of pre-hiking and preview hiking prior to, so to kind of offset a lot of like the donor hikes and preview hikes we're doing. We do have a lot of language written around this just to kind of defray people's expectations. There will be cones along Alford Road to make sure that nobody parks on the shoulder. We've talked to all of the neighbors that abut both sides, and the employee parking, like when for whoever is coming to help for the event, they'll be off-site, so we should be able to maintain that amount. We'll close the lot when the parking has reached and put a sandwich board out front and just kind of move traffic along. We have put in the language that, you know, expect to be turned away if the lot is full, and that's kind of why we're doing 2 days, just so that people don't have their feelings hurt, but also, you know, they can feel like they might come back.
Copy that. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll make the Captain Obvious comment that people drive pretty fast on that road. So I don't have an answer to that, but please be careful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We will stress that to everybody, as a precaution. I appreciate that.
So, yeah, I guess I would just want to make a couple statements. A is it's very exciting that there's a new trailhead. Always looking for a new trail to go on the weekends or whenever I'm capable of doing so. Just a few questions about it, although it has nothing to do with this license, but just curious how long this particular trail is from this
So-
parking space.
Right now, we have one trail on the reserve. It's called the Longview Loop, and it takes you up over the ridge line of Tomball Mountain Reserve, and you can see some nice views of Long Pond. It is 3.4 miles round trip, and it's about a moderate hike, so a really good one, a good robust afternoon hike.
Well, it's exciting to see. Glad it's all happening and just, yeah, I guess reading what Phil and everybody said, I guess I would expect that you're gonna have a big turnout and I would just be careful on that road and the more cones, the better to probably keep people from parking on the edges of the road.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We're excited too.
I have a question. What is the entertainment?
We have a volunteer who plays acoustic guitar, and he also writes songs about nature and different locations in the Berkshires that he enjoys hiking. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with John Kidd, but he has graciously agreed to play some acoustic guitar and sing at the event. So it will be fairly quiet, but it's kind of, low key.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Next is an application for a temporary entertainment license, Black Bear Training, Health and Fitness event behind Great Barrington Fire Department at 37 State Road, Great Barrington. June 28th from 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. You want to give a little explanation, state your name and address, and give an explanation of who you are and what you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Max Ritt. I'm actually presenting this on behalf of my partner. She's currently working. The event is in partnership with Great Barrington Fire Department, and we're looking to do a one-day fitness event, kind of raising awareness for first responders and giving the general public an opportunity to come out and share in like a fitness event with first responders and firefighters in Great Barrington.
All right. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve a temporary entertainment license to Black Bear Training Health and Fitness event behind Great Barrington Fire Department at 37 State Road, Great Barrington, June 28th from 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Do I have a second?
No second question. I'm just trying to visualize the fire department, and I'm just trying to think of the room that you're speaking of, or the area that you're speaking of. Is this gonna impact residents in that area at all? Thank you.
Yeah, super good question. I guess I also have one other point to caveat just before we vote on the motion. We've opted to bump the event date out to Saturday, September 13th. We were not clear we were going to have to go before the committee here for a vote. So we want to be able to advertise sufficiently, as this will be a donation-based event where all of the proceeds are going to be going back to the first responder community. So we opted to bump that date so we have plenty of time to advertise and make sure that the turnout is sufficient and we can have a really good sizable event and have some really good fun. To answer back to your question though, we're going to be using the left portion of the rear parking lot, which is a pretty sizable space that goes fairly unutilized on a daily basis. That's where the core of the event will take place, and we'll be kind of saddled up there behind the building, not blocking any egress for any of the on-duty firefighters or the trucks from the front of the building. And we'll also have the secondary section of the rear parking lot, which typically only houses a few enclosed trailers and a shed to have as overflow parking. We're also, now that we have a little bit more time, we're going to be looking to speak with the awesome gentleman over at Bike and Board to make sure that we can utilize that for some overflow as well, because I know their bike nights kind of share in the parking festivities of the fire department most weeks anyway. So
can I have a withdrawal of the motion and withdrawal of the second?
I withdraw my motion.
Withdraw my second.
So I have another motion that uses September 13th.
I make a motion to approve a temporary entertainment license for Black Bear Training Health and Fitness event behind the Great Barrington Fire Department at 37 State Road, September 13th, 2025, from 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other questions?
One
Yeah,
more question, the circled area on the map is, last I saw, was somewhat of a construction zone. For that house, it's basically right behind the fire department. Is that playing?
I think that's a kind of temporary situation, and I think on a daily basis, I feel like they've possibly staged some materials or gotten some processes going from that space, but they're not using it on a regular basis.
Okay.
All in favor?
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Max, you mentioned overflow parking, but what are you mentioning is the kind of the primary parking for the event?
The primary parking, the pictured area is only one portion of the kidney-shaped parking lot along the back of the building. A majority of that area will be for the event, but then the kind of secondary edge heading towards the book loft is going to be the main parking area for the event.
Do you have a crowd estimation or what you're shooting for?
I mean, we're super optimistic, but if we had 15 people on an hourly basis, that would probably be pretty solid. We're gonna host a workout at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and 11 a.m. with some other peripheral elements kind of sprinkled in throughout the morning, some coffee, things like that. So I'm expecting probably no more than 20 people an hour.
Gotcha. So it's staggered throughout the time.
Makes sense.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Good luck.
Thanks, y'all.
Application for a common Vic's license, Style and Frank's hot dog cart for intermittent use at the following locations. 123 Main Street, Great Barrington, Monday, Thursday, and Friday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. 297 Main Street, Great Barrington, Sunday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. And Emily, you're unmuted, and if you could explain those times, because I thought you only had one cart, but it seems like the Sunday through Saturday kind of confuses me.
Yeah, sure. Hi, all. Thank you. So this is I'm going into my 4th season, and with that, I know, the best location, and so to cover my ground, last year I was set up at Farnsworth. I think I got the permit. I did the Sunday through Saturday, or maybe it was Monday through Friday, but in any event, I plan to be at the Farnsworth location, the 123 Main Street, during the week. No necessarily set time. It's more of a lunch crowd. And so the 297 location on Main Street, I couldn't do that last year because they were working on the outside of the old Evergreen location. And so I'm planning on just being there Saturdays, but again, I wanted to cover my ground and possibly be there on Sunday. But so I only have one cart.
So just to clarify, Saturday and Sunday is at 297.
Yeah.
Monday, Thursday, and Friday is at 123.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, we'll take the through off of there, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We're not done.
So
Do you want to just explain, Emily, what you do, so people who don't know.
Yep. So Emily Williams, I own a hot dog cart. I sell hot dogs during the season, summer season. Vienna beef out of Chicago. And yeah.
Garfield, you have a question? Go right ahead.
You at one point said you don't have a set time, but right here you have 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. So do you have a set time? Or
No, I'm sorry. At Farnsworth, it will be 11 to 4 during the week. And during the weekend, I may stay open later past 4 because of foot traffic on Main Street.
When's passport,
Well,
Exactly.
8 PM is what's on the application.
but not for the Monday, Thursday,
No,
Friday.
because I won't be open after 4 at the Farnsworth location at 123 Main Street.
Right, so that's not gonna be the weekend you're speaking of, you're talking about on 297?
Correct.
All right, so those hours are set 11 to 4, Thursday, Monday, Thursday, Friday,
Right,
correct?
that's the Main Street
Monday,
location.
Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Doesn't say Tuesday here, it's Monday, Thursday, and Friday.
So you want Tuesday added in there too?
It doesn't say Tuesday?
It does
No,
not.
Does not,
Okay, it should, yes.
yeah.
At the 123
Yeah.
Main Street, yep.
Okay.
Um,
Let's do a motion, so we all are talking the same language. You got all this?
Sure, I think I do.
Okay.
I think I do.
Do it.
Mm,
All right, I make a motion to approve a common vicular license for Style and Frank's Hot Dog Cart for intermittent use at the following locations. 123 Main Street, Great Barrington, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, from 11 to 4. Then also at 297 Main Street, Great Barrington, Saturday and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Do I have a second?
Okay.
Okay, I have a second. George, I think you have that. Any other questions?
So I have a quick question that I am doing. It just occurred to me that I'm doing Party in the Park in Hoosie, and I did not get a permit for that. I mean, I have all my so how do I handle that?
Party in the park, I think, was separately permitted,
Yeah.
and the Board of Health will review all food.
Right, okay, they're aware of it.
Not the Board of Health, the health department.
Okay,
So you're okay on that?
okay, great.
Good question. Anybody else?
I just have one very important question. Emily, you mentioned Vienna beef. Do you also get the giardiniera from Vienna beef?
I do.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That wasn't.
See you
fun.
soon. See you soon.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Good luck, Emily.
Thank you.
Okay, new business. Motion to reappoint Malcolm Fick as Great Barrington's alternate delegate to the Virtual Regional Planning Commission for planning board recommendation.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Appoint to the Ramsdale Building Committee Pamela Sandler.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thanks, Pam, for coming back on.
Oh, who's there?
Merci.
Ma'am, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for volunteering.
Merci.
What's that?
I was speaking French, man.
Next is the review of surplus supplies or obsolete equipment disposition policy. Chris?
Sure, so this came up recently where we were looking to dispose of a printer, computer printer. It was not of negligible value, but a couple $100 worth. And nobody really knew what to do with that. So we figured we put together a policy for your review, and then we can enact it. Obviously, things over a certain value, $10,000, have to follow state procurement law, and we always have done that. So it may be extra vehicles, if we trade in an old plow truck or a police car, we've always done that sort of thing, traded it or auctioned it. But we didn't have anything written down for what to do with things of lesser value or donations. So we put this together based on what we can see other communities do, make sure we follow the law and best practices. So we're putting this in front of you to review, discussion, hopefully approval.
Let me start with a motion to approve, and then we'll have discussion.
I make a motion to approve the new policy on disposal of surplus materials.
I have a second.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Very thoughtful approach. This big picture I'm looking at E, the charitable donation clause. It seems like if the town manager wants full flexibility to decide to donate to a nonprofit instead of selling, I didn't think that was clear enough in there, that yeah. So if you want to be able to essentially override bids, give it to a nonprofit, I think that's a good thing, generally speaking, but it wasn't clear that you could do that.
The town manager can't override, chapter 30B. If the item's above a certain value, we've got to go through that process.
You got it.
So this is, I guess, this section E is, you could read it to say the town manager can override all of those laws. No, town manager can't. So if it's 10,000 or more, I have to go through the process.
Okay, so the E only applies to C.
Yeah, sorry about that. Or one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We can clarify that.
Okay, and then you probably, I would advocate that you, for the below 10,000, you should have clearer flexibility to do that.
Okay, so for C and D, anything below 10,000.
Yeah.
We could have clear flexibility to make a charitable donation for no income received by the town. Okay? Thanks. That wasn't good.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thanks, Chris, for bringing that forward. Citizen speak time.
Michelle Rivera, 70 Division Street. I know you guys have to get on to the second stuff. Yeah, but Bill brought it up and I wasn't going to say anything about the traffic on Offord Road and the speed on Offord Road. Well, that speed and traffic on Offord Road comes down Division Street. And it's gotten much, much worse. Now, I work in Lenox and I also bicycle. Okay, if you drive up through Lenox, and Stockbridge and Lenox going up 183, they've done a wonderful job posting signs regarding the mass law about giving 4 feet distance for whether you're running, whether you're cycling, whatever. Just this weekend, we live at 70 Division Street, we're right on a curve. Speed is just excessive on there, whether you have to stop at that red light at the bridge or not, they don't care. My husband's mowing the lawn on the bank, there are people cycling, there are people jogging. And he said he was waiting for a disaster to happen. Cars aren't doing that. I'd like to prompt the town of Great Barrington to put up some of those signs themselves. And these are fairly large signs. They're usually on the speed limit posts. And if you go up, I came down 183, Lenox police are on 183, Stockbridge police are on 183. So they're trying traffic calming on those roads. Alford Road, Division Street, 183, prime bicycle routes. I've done it myself. And I myself was run off the road by an SUV on Van Duzenville Road, and the person didn't even realize they did it. So I think Great Barrington needs to be proactive like their neighbors and start getting the signage up for safety. Thanks so much.
Jimmy Bailey, go right ahead.
Jim Bailey, Housatonic. Just like to say, I'm very excited to see the much needed improvement in the roads in Housatonic. I appreciate that. We finally have some great leadership DPW level that's getting all this work done. A lot of planning's gone into it. I can see that. They've gone through and taken time to repair the infrastructure needed prior to road work on 41. I noticed that. The alarming thing I noticed is immediately after the road was surfaced, Freddie Mercer and his contractor, Joe Wilkinson, on Saturday had dug up the road. It's disturbing to me because oftentimes, as anybody in Housatonic knows, Freddie Mercer and the Wilkinsons are very lax in their repairs to the roads. I'd like to find out, or maybe somebody knows already, whether or not there is bonds posted by either Mercer, any of his contractors, including Joe Wilkinson, who constantly dig up the roads. Are they sufficient bonds? What are the bonds? I mean, there's no sense to taking all this hard work that, like I said, Joe Aberdale and his crew have managed to finally get roads in Housatonic up to par. I mean, some of these roads haven't seen anything in 40 years that are finally getting repaired. You know, it's been a lot of planning. I see that. The one thing that's neglected is obviously there's been no repairs to the water lines. And unfortunately, that's only going to come later after the roads have been repaired. So what is the town doing to ensure that all this hard work put forth by, you know, our DPW, our tax dollars aren't going to go to waste when Freddie Mercer digs it up immediately after pavement? I would like to ensure that we have bonds in place, or they have bonds in place. The bonds are sufficient. I'm not even sure if there is even a bond posted. I haven't looked into it, but I would really appreciate if somebody got back to me with that information.
Okay, we'll do, Jim.
What's that?
We will get back to you. We don't have that information right now.
All right, but you know what I'm getting at. I mean, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous to see all this hard work and to, you know, immediately within the surfacing of a road, and I imagine there's more, it looks like there's a top coat to go, but without a substantial improvement to the base that they just dug up, it's going to fail again. So let's just ensure that, you know, these roads that we're taking the time to repair stay repaired. The other question I have for this board is on the Route 41 North Plain Road project, the housing project there. There's 5 acres of open dirt. I don't know if anybody's driven by it lately. It's a dirt dust field. Even with all this rain, there's piles of dirt, nothing but dust. I know there's laws that dictate how much land, how much dirt can be exposed during a project. I'm just wondering how much longer before there's vegetation, coverage of some type to prevent dust and erosion. Does anybody have any answers for that?
No, we do not here.
Well, can we get some answers on that?
Yeah, I just said we would.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Like I said, I just want to reiterate that I'm very excited to see the work being put forth here in Housatonic, the money spent on the roads in Housatonic, the patching of 183, the rebuilding of 41, Kirk Street, Hart Street, Prospect. I don't think those roads have seen anything in, like I said, 40 years. Oak Street. I would just like to ensure that we do all we can to protect the money we've spent and the hard work that's gone into this, and hold those accountable. Freddie Mercer and his contractors who, like I said the other day, I'm sure if there wasn't somebody watching them, and I'm not sure.
Your time is up. Thank you. We will get back to you with those answers.
Well, just don't let Freddie Mercer continue to dig up our roads.
We understand.
Held accountable.
No, we understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. We now have Selectboard time. Bill?
Good, thank you.
Ben?
Just to say, thank you to Jim for kind of bringing that, issue up. I think the beautiful job that has been done on Route 41, then immediately being disrupted by a broken, water main from Housatonic Waterworks, pretty potent metaphor. Leave it there.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, Michelle had talked about maybe having some signs along the road like they do for Lennox and whatnot. I brought this up last year, got shot down. I want to bring it up again. I've been down Division Street below the light, and there are people walking on that road. I don't know, I can't believe that it's going to be a big cost to us just to put a couple signs up that saying, beware pedestrians on the road. There are people, I know it's not, you're supposed to, they claim, but people are doing what they're doing. And I can't see, heck, I'll chip in and pay if I have to, but I just think it's silly not to put a sign up there. It's not gonna cost the town, it's not, and you can't deny, I mean, I've seen people walking on the road. And there's no sides on either side of the road for actually walking on. So I think we need to know that there are pedestrians on the road. That's what I have to say.
Thank you, Garfield. Eric,
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
media time. Eileen, go right ahead.
Okay, how are you publicizing vacancies on town boards?
After, social media and, that website.
I haven't seen it on the website.
So what happens is next meeting is when we reappoint reappoint the board members. Then we'll know what vacancies we have. We already know we have one on the finance committee. When Phil left, we'll have a list of them, and then that'll be put on the website and on social media, and at the end of July, we'll hopefully appoint people to fill those vacancies.
Oh, are you going to put any kind of apply by date for them?
Yeah, yes. Because hopefully we'll do it the last meeting in July, which I think is the 28th. So yes, we will.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Okay. Might as well pull up with a Board of Health and let's see, do I have?
Peter's on,
Yeah,
Mike Hugo should be there.
yeah.
And do you have a separate link for the?
This one.
Well, we have to start here.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, let's start with the first one is call to order a joint meeting with the Board of Health and convene into executive session and not return to open session. Executive session under MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A3 for the following purpose: to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body. And then I'll take a motion.
I move that the board meet in executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A3 for the following purpose: to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, Housatonic Waterworks Company rate increase petition to the Department of Public Utilities, DPU number 23-65, and the town's appeal to the Supreme Judiciary Court. Town of Great Barrington versus Department of Public Utilities, case number SJ 2024-0312.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So it's a joint meeting, so we'll do both boards. First, we'll do the select board. It's a roll call vote. Phil. Ben.
Here.
Garfield.
Yes.
Eric.
Aye.
And I. Your board?
Do I need to read the motions now?
No.
Okay, roll call for Board of Health, be Dr. Ruby Chang.
Yeah.
Peter Stanton.
Aye.
And I'm here as well, Michael.
Next is executive session under MGL Chapter 38, Section 21A6 for the following purpose: to consider the purchase, exchange, or value of real estate regarding Housatonic Waterworks. An open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. Do I have a motion?
I move that the board meet in executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A6 for the following purpose: to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate regarding Housatonic Waterworks because of open discussion may have detrimental effects on the negotiating position of the board and the town.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's a roll call vote. Bill,
Here.
Ben,
Aye.
Garfield.
Yes.
Aye.
And I. Your board.
Board of Health.
Wait.
Peter,
Here.
and I go present too.
Next is executive session under MGL chapter 30A, section 21A3. For the following purpose, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. An open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body.
I move that the board meet in executive session pursuant to chapter MGL 30A, section 21A3 for the following purpose: to discuss strategy with respect to litigation by the Housatonic Water Works Company versus Town of Great Barrington and Great Barrington Board of Health, ET, Berkshire Superior Court Action Number 2476 CV 00150. Because of an open meeting may have detrimental effects on the litigation and or negotiation position of the board and the town.
I'll second.
Second.
Bill. Aye. Ben.
Aye.
Garfield.
Right.
Eric.
Aye.
And I.
Board of Health, Peter. Ruby. I vote aye as well.
Next one is this the select board, executive session under MGL chapter 30A, 21A3 for the following purpose: to discuss strategy with respect to the collective bargaining or litigation. An open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body.
I move that the board meet in executive session pursuant to MGL chapter 30A, section 21A3 for the following purpose: to discuss strategy with respect to litigation against the town concerning host community agreements for marijuana establishments, Theory Wellness, Community Growth Partners, Rebel, High Minded LLC, Farnsworth, Middlesex Superior Court Civil Action Number 2481 CV 00693, and D2N2 LLC, doing business as Calyx Berkshire Dispensary, Berkshire Superior Court Civil Action Number 2476 CV 00041. Because an open discussion may be detrimental effect on litigation position in the board and the town.
That was second.
Second.
Bill. Ben.
Aye.
Garfield.
Aye.
And I. It's unanimous. We will not come back to open session. We are now going into executive session. Thank you.